Hi, today all of this right here is going bye-bye. Same thing with everything down here that you can't really see. But first we need to remove the wheels. I've never removed them before and I expect them to be really heavy. These are some long studs. Man, these are so wide. Good call having this car just as low as I can to remove these. My gosh, these are so wide. Let's see if I can even lift this. Whew, I wonder how much it weighs. All right, that was a success. So the idea is to pretty much remove as much as I can off of the subframe and the body. So right now I'm just going to start off by removing these covers here. And these are part of the grille. And to be honest, I'm just guessing because I really can't find anything online about this, about just removing as much as they, like on this particular model, all I find is removing on like older Camaros or a Firebird, which is not the same, but I mean close enough. And these look like crap anyway, so I mean, it doesn't matter to me that I'm removing it if it's not really necessary because I still was going to replace it either way. Came off just like that. These headlights are coming off next. It's pretty simple. There's just 2 bolts here in the front and then other 2 in the back. The last 2 bolts are back here, but I need to close this so it can make it easier for it to come off. Okay, let's see how we can work this through. So that didn't work out how I thought it would. So the light is still here stuck, and that's only because of the hood release that's blocking it. See, when I removed this light, there's nothing here, so it was able to come off here from the back fine, which I wasn't anticipating this. So now I need to remove this, and then I can get this light from out of here. Okay, so now that this came off, we can remove that light. Now there's plenty of room. And now just like that, we have plenty of room for this light to come off. So now just moving on to removing this lower part of the bumper. And actually this should be painted chrome, but you know, I kind of like it that it's not. I like that it matches the rest of the car. Only on this car, because on the Mustang, you know, I like the chrome. All right. So now it's coming off. I feel like I'm moving like up, down, side, side, but next I'm removing this part here. I really don't know if I need to remove this, but I can't confirm that there isn't a bolt here for the side fender when I remove the side fender, so I'm just going to take this off anyway. Okay, so once I remove this, I'll be able to confirm or not whether I needed to see if there's a bolt here. So let's just try to do it from the center. And just bring it up. No. I mean, oh well, better safe than sorry. I took a look around and it seems like it's about 10-ish bolts. I say 10-ish because one side might have more or less than the other in order to remove the fender. So I think there's like around 3, like 2 here on top, maybe 2 or 1 at the bottom, and then the rest are all here up front. There's like 2 here, I think there's 2 here, and then 3 at the bottom or something like that. So let's see if that's it or if I missed something else, but let's go ahead and take them off. I figured I'd start with the most inconvenient ones, which are the ones, there's 2 here. Kind of position myself in the way I feel like it's the best to get these. Definitely need a light because it's so dark. If not, I wouldn't be able to see anything. These are 3 here. I'm glad that was easy, even though they seem like the hardest ones to access. So that's done here. Since I still need to remove the other ones and everything is loose up here, let me just put this one in just a bit, then I'll just come back to it. So starting at the bottom, there should have been a bolt here, but there isn't, no surprise, but there is one here. So just going to work from here and then all the way to the top again. So I'm just supporting it with my leg, but I still have that 1 bolt there. I really don't want this to fall. Let's take this off. Hopefully, if not, I'll be able to tell right now when I try to remove this. Okay. I think so. I think I got everything. Just probably to take a little bit to remove it. Okay, so this side is off, so I just need to work on this. Oh, okay, it's off. Driver's side fender is off. In the process of removing the passenger side fender, I noticed that this is a loose tooth. So I'm just like, let me remove this before it falls. The Camaro looks pretty ugly, to be honest, but believe it or not, this setup right here, this shell, would go for like about 15K on Facebook Marketplace. I know, it's crazy. The only thing keeping this subframe on is because it is on the lift, and I also need to remove the fuel line, the steering column, and also the brake lines. But before I do that, I'm going to work on the rear first. So now the fun part, starting with the rear, pretty much everything is coming off, but before we do that, I need to support the diff, and then I can remove these bottom bolts here for the springs. Then I can remove the link bolts that are the link bolts for the diff for the bottom ones, and then the top one. So once I remove that, then the diff is free, it comes off. Then I can work my way with like pretty much all of these suspension parts, so the springs, and then work my way all the way towards the front. I already sprayed PB Blaster on these bolts just in case. Usually with suspension parts, they're a little bit hard to get to, which reminds me, I used to just do a lot of suspension work, so this is bringing back memories. The diff is supported, so now going to work on those bolts, those link bolts that support the diff, and using my knuckle buddy. I haven't used this in a long time, but it comes really handy. And now there's this top one here. So we're just breaking them, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Oh, this one's hard on there. Why is this bolt like this? Okay, there we go. So now the bottom bolts for the suspension, loosening those. That was pretty easy. That PB Blaster did help. Yeah, I did not expect that many washers to fall out like Sonic rings. Okay, so now removing the suspension, at least this bottom bolt. This whole setup is very foreign to me, this whole drag setup. Like this is the, that's not gonna come off. It'll come off later. I'm used to just a track setup, so this is like, a lot going on here. So these are the last remaining bolts, and then we can lower the diff. All right, so all of these are off now. I'm supporting this link because that's the only thing supporting the diff right now. So once I remove these bolts, this link is going to come right down. They're on here hard. I need something to hammer it further. When do I stop and support it again? Well, that bolt is still on top, so it's not gonna come flying down. So I'll need the flathead again for this one. Everything's flying everywhere. I'm going to lower this diff slowly so I can get those links off. All of these washers are just coming off. Just do this little by little. All right, so now the springs are off. These links are on here really hard. A bit scary because it feels like it's being unbalanced. All right, so this top link and this bottom one are coming off, but this one is still there. If I nudge it too much, this diff might end up going the other way. Is it off a little bit? No. Just lower it a little more. Okay, I think it's off. Okay, so that's almost off. Needs a little bit more. Oh, that is totally off balancing the diff. Okay, maybe I should hammer this one down so we can be even. Okay, it's off, okay. I feel like it's still a little bit off balance, but we can now clear this and I can move this jack all the way back. And the diff is completely off. Only gave me a few scares though. This is getting stuck. All right, yeah, it's fine. I can pull this. You may be wondering, how am I going to remove this chassis without wheels off of the two-post lift? You'll see really soon. because I was wondering the same thing before making this video. And I'm like, but I found a solution for that. So remove the washer. Now we can remove this bolt. 1,000 washers for everything, and now the spring is off. One last look at the Camaro. This is how it's looking now without anything. It's pretty much completely bare. And then here is the front subframe before it comes off. So this is pretty easy. It only has 4 bolts. So there's one big bolt here, and then another one right there, the same for the driver's side. So the main reason for taking off the subframe is to replace it, because look at that, filled with rust. And then once that's off, I also have access to just work on this area right here, because remember, that floorboard right there is just covered in rust. So this area right here is bad, but it'll get worked on soon. A lot has happened and some time has passed. So first, we built these hinge well dollies. And what I mean by we, I mean me and Chris, my contractor. So these took some time to build, and after that we had to put these under the Camaro just so we can reposition the arms that were under the subframe. So remove the arms from there, now they are under the pinch welds. After that, we had to figure out what is the safest way to remove this subframe, because this is heavy, this is sketchy, I don't want to get hurt, this can go south really quick. So we figured that the best way is putting this transmission jack in the center, so that is supporting most of the weight, and then also having these jacks under here. So there's 3 levels, well, there's 3 points of support. Now the bolts that are in the rear for the subframe have been removed. The only ones left are these 2 bolts up here up front. So one here on the passenger side and the other one on the driver's side. And then after those bolts come off, this shouldn't, I don't know, it might fall a little bit, but it won't come off completely, because I still need to slide this subframe off of the rear. So let's see, I feel like this is enough support to hold it while I try to slide it off. On second thought, I added 2 more jacks just because, again, this seems just like very sketchy. So I just wanted a little bit more support. Hopefully that's enough, hopefully. Big old bolt. So far, so good. When I removed the bolt on the passenger side from the subframe, I noticed that the chassis went immediately back. I was not expecting that, so I went ahead and added more support. So there's a jack here, and then there's a jack on the other side, because again, I was not expecting that, and I don't want it to just completely fall back once I remove this bolt. So now there's support in the rear and there's support in the front. I see it tilting back, but I'm less worried now since I have that support. All right. These 2 endpoints right here were the biggest pain, and it took so long to remove this from the rear subframe. They were just so corroded there. Chris was on one end just trying to pry it off. I was on the other end with like a flathead. We also sprayed it with PB Blaster. It would not want to come off. And then when it did, you can see the subframe is already off. This little plan of mine that I had with just having it on the transmission jack did not work. First, I thought that I would be able to just slide this all off by myself. No, this is extremely heavy. So Chris was on one end, I was on the other end. We were just pulling it for it to slide off. And then once it did, it just completely fell to the floor because the transmission jack just slid off. So this is where it is, and this is where it's going to stay, because it's already been 12 hours. With this whole, since like I started to finish right now, it's just a whole lot of components and I am exhausted. My plan with these pinch weld dollies didn't work exactly how I expected, because these 2 aren't supporting the car, just because the majority of the weight is here in the rear. So these 2 in the rear for the passenger and the driver are. That's why I also left these jacks here. They aren't fully supporting it, but they're there just in case, because for now they're just being, all the weight is on here. But most of that weight is due to the fuel cell, is due to the roll cage and all of that metal for it being tubbed. So for now, it's just gonna stay like this because I'm tired. Tomorrow, I'll worry about getting this fuel cell out of here and then rolling this car to another side of the shop. And then we can get to the interior, mainly starting with fixing that floorboards and then working on the interior. So that's gonna be fun. But for now, I am done. I'm tired. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.